Hi students, today we are going to take a grammar part from your syllabus. Lexical verb and auxiliary verb. What is lexical verb? Lexical verb and auxiliary verb. Lexical verb is also known as main verb and auxiliary is known as helping verb. Both of this you have heard of these both, but however today we are just going to learn it a little bit deep. Let's go to the slide. Lexical verb and auxiliary verb. What is lexical verb? Lexical verbs express action, state of being or predicate meaning. In a word, they are the main verbs or principal verb of a sentence. So in short, a lexical verb is main verb. In a sentence, we can see one or two verbs. Which verb is standing alone and which verb is standing as main verb, that is known as lexical verb. The boy ran into the forest. Ran is the main verb or lexical verb. The boy, here the boy is the subject and ran is the verb. So here only one verb we can see. So this is the main verb in this sentence. Next, what is auxiliary verb? Auxiliary verb is a helping verb. Its duty is to help the other verb. That is, auxiliary verbs help the main verb. When auxiliary verb exists, there is a verb phrase. We are getting a cluster of words, that is verb phrase. Teachers will help you more. Teachers will help you more. You see, here is one word is there, that is help. It is known as the main verb in this sentence. Help is the main verb in this sentence, but this will is just helping this main verb. So this is known as the helping verb. This is also a verb, but it is not a main verb. It is a helping verb. So what is its duty? Its duty is to help the main verb. Here the help is the main verb, so it is helping the main verb. The teachers will help you more. Will is the auxiliary and help is the lexical verb. Help is the main verb, will is the auxiliary verb here. So this is a kind of definition about lexical verb and auxiliary verb. In short, let's say that a lexical verb is a main verb and auxiliary verb is helping verb. Next, see, lexical verbs are the main verbs or an action words in a sentence. They can show the subject's action or express a state of being. They fall into several categories: transitive, intransitive, linking, dynamic and static. Now we are just going to study about these 4-5 things. What is that here? What is main verb? Main verb is also known as the action words. Action words. For example, if you write, you are doing an action. What is that action? You are writing. It is an action. So some verbs are action verbs. Some are others are not. For example, you dream. Dream also is a verb, but it is not an action. Okay, so let's classify these verbs into 4 or 5. So it is just defining here. Okay, you see, they can show the subject's action. Normally, a verb is just showing a subject's action. Subject is person who is doing an action. So a verb is showing the action of a subject or express a state of being. They fall into several categories. So these verbs fall into several categories: transitive verb, intransitive verb, linking verb, dynamic and static. Let's go to it. Transitive and intransitive verbs. What is a transitive verb? A transitive verb expresses action and needs a direct object to receive that action. Alice sees the candle. So look at this sentence. Alice is the name of a girl. Sees the candle. She is seeing the candle. Here Alice is the subject, she is the verb, and candle is the object. What Alice sees. What Alice sees. If you ask a question what, you will get an answer. What she is seeing a candle. So that is object. So in transitive verb, you can see an object. That means this action needs a direct object to receive the action. Alice sees. If anybody says Alice sees alone, that we can't say or we can't define what she has seen. Alice sees. Alice can see sometime a sun or the light or fan or book or pen, anything she can see. But here the object is you see, the candle. What she is seeing the candle. So a transitive verb always showing the object. Okay. The object will be there. For what purpose the object is there? To receive the action of the subject. To receive the action of the subject. What is the action of the subject here? Seeing is the subject. So what she is seeing the candle. See, this is the example, and I think you have understood what it is. It's an example. Sees is the lexical verb. Here only one verb, that is sees. So it is the lexical verb of the sentence. That is, it is the main verb of the sentence and is transitive. It is also main verb and it is also a transitive verb. Okay, why it is a transitive? Because the object is here. The candle is the direct object because it receives the action. Sees. Intransitive verbs. Next, what is intransitive verb? An intransitive verb expresses action. An intransitive verb expresses action, but don't affect a direct object. If you say Alice dances, you see here Alice dances. What she is doing? She is dancing. Okay, so here we can see an object. For example, dances is the lexical verb. It is of course, definitely it is lexical verb. It is main verb, but there is no object. It is intransitive because it does not involve a direct object. Here we can't see an object, so it is an intransitive verb. Hope you might have got some ideas about this transitive and intransitive verbs. Look at the next one. Already we learned also the category of verb. There is a linking verb. It connects. A linking verb connects the subject of a sentence with information about itself. Linking, from the word linking we can get the idea what its duty is. A linking verb's duty is to link each other, something to link each other. Linking verbs often express states of being. Here is an example. The sky became dark. Here you see the word sky is there, the word dark is there. In between became. So what is the duty of became here? It is just connecting, it is just linking the sky and the dark. What type of sky? It is a dark sky. What became dark? The sky became dark. So in between the sky and dark, we have just put this word, that is became. So its duty became. The duty of became is just to link each other these two words, to connect each other these two words, that is sky and dark. In this case, became is the linking verb because it connects the description. By the description here, there are two descriptions, one is dark and one is sky. Dark back to the subject. What is dark? In order to understand what dark is, we have to look back to the word sky. Okay, then only we will get the full meaning. You see dark. What? It has become dark. It has become dark. This one what? The sky has become dark. Other examples of linking verbs include appear. So some examples I have given here. Appear, remain, to be, everything is just used as linking verbs. So this is the next one, dynamic and static. Already we have had a lesson of this one, dynamic and static verbs. However, we are just going to learn about this more here in the slide. Dynamic and static main verbs. Dynamic verbs express action. Explode, boil and go are all dynamic verbs. Yeah, how can we define this dynamic verb? Just looking at the shape of the verb. What is the form of the verb here? It is just doing an action. This verb is just doing an action. For example, export. Boiling is an action. Going is an action. Writing is an action. Sleeping in action. Some verbs are showing actions. So, if it is showing actions, it is known as the dynamic verbs. For example, John's car crashed. Crashing is an action. John's car crashed. Here the verb crash was an action that the car was able to physically perform. What is next? Static verbs. Static verb describes a situation or state rather than an action. For example, you have prefer, surprise. This example we cannot see. There is an action. There is no action in this type of verbs. For example, if you surprised. For example, if you think, we cannot see that thinking mode. Okay, as I told you earlier, the dream we cannot see. So some verbs, situation, state rather than an action, prefer, surprise and include are static verbs. For example, the crashing car surprised John. It surprised John. In this case, surprise describes how the car affects John more than what it physically does. So here some examples of dynamic verbs and static verbs have been given. Let's go to the next one. Regular and irregular main verbs. This one also you might have heard or you might have learned in previous classes. Regular and irregular verbs. Regular and irregular verbs. What is regular verb and irregular verb? Here you see lexical verbs. Lexical verb I already told you that lexical verb is a main verb. So lexical verbs fall into two categories. Lexical verbs fall into two categories. Regular and irregular. The difference between them is the way their endings change. Ending means the ending of a verb changing. Ending of a verb is just changing. For example, go, went, gone. Eat, eaten, ate, eaten. This type of verbs are there. But in some example we can see, if you are asked to make the verb 2 of a verb 1, what we will do? We are just adding ed. For example, work. We will add an ed with the verb work. We will get the past of that work as worked. Okay, right. It's correct. Like that, in many of verbs we are just using ed to make its verb 2. That is past, present, past participle. These are the three forms of the verb that you know. Here, in order to make the verb 2, in order to make the past of the verb, we are just adding ed. So these type of verbs are known as regular verbs. Regular verbs are making, just adding ed at the end of the verb. At the end of the verb. Verb means at the end of the present verb. Okay. So if you add an ed with a present verb, you will get its past. But this rule is not applicable to every verb. Why? The example I told you earlier, worked. Okay, it's okay. It is a regular verb because it is we are just adding ed with the word work. But what is the case of eat, ate, eaten? We are not telling eat, eated. It's not correct. So this type of verb is known as irregular verbs. If we are adding ed with a verb, we are getting past of that verb, it is known as regular verb. And some verbs cannot be with some verbs cannot be added ed. So this type of verb is known as irregular verbs. In the sentence, she looks in the mirror. You see here looks. She looks in the mirror. The main verbs looks. What is the past of look? Looked is a regular verb. The past tense of look is looked. So in the past tense, the sentence would read, she looked in the mirror. She looked in the mirror. Here, just adding ed, we made the past tense of word look. So this type of verb is known as regular verb. on the other hand, you see here, on the other hand, what's happening? By. By is an example of a word. By is an example of an irregular verb. Why this is the example of irregular verb? Because we are not just adding ed with the word by to make its past. By, bide, bite. It's not correct. Why? It is not the form of the verb. See, in order to make this past, in order to make the by to past, what we are just doing, we are just adding some other letters. For example, bu by. For example, bu y by is an example of an irregular verb. It undergoes irregular spelling changes in its past tense. In its past tense. What happens here? It does not end with ed. This verb does not end with ed. The past tense of by is bought, not by, bide, bide. The past tense of by is bought. So I already told you that if you are just adding ed with a verb to make it past, then it is regular verb. If we cannot add ed with some verbs to make past, it is known as irregular verbs. You could say she buys a mirror. She buyed a mirror, not she buys a mirror in the present tense. What is the past of that? The past tense would be she bought a mirror. She bought a mirror. Not all irregular verbs undergo a change in spelling in the past tense. For example, the verb cut stays the same in all tenses. And here you must understand, in all cases, we are not just changing the words to make the past of that verb. For example, here we have just made that change. What was that? By just made into bought, so that we will get the past of that word by. But here, in some verbs, we need not to change the word. We need not to change the word to make it past. For example, here you look, cut. What is the past of the cut? What is the past participle of the cut? Cut, past is cut, past participle also is cut. Some examples are the cut, put, put. Here are some examples. So, here just we are going to wind up the class. Before it, I recommend you to write in a notebook some regular verbs and some irregular verbs. Okay, for what purpose? Next classes, the forthcoming classes, we will have more about these words, about these verbs. So it will be very useful for you at that time. In order to make it easy, that learning, you must write some regular verbs and irregular verbs that you will get from your dictionary. At the last pages of dictionary, sometime it will be given there. You just turn over the pages of dictionary, you will get that words from there, and you write it in a notebook. At least I recommend you to write 50 words, 50 words. Just draw a margin, half of the notebook, at the center of the notebook, and write left side it's past, then the left side it's present, then past and past participle. These three forms you write. And if you are getting this type of irregular verbs, that's not changing, that underline there. Okay, so you write at least 50 words of irregular verb. Only you have to write irregular verbs, no need of writing regular verbs, because that we know. For example, eds, if there are ed words with the past, that is regular verbs, so you need not to write that words. Only you have to write irregular verbs. Okay, so you will get, and you will have some vocabulary about it, about these irregular verbs. And if you get this type of verbs, that is the same in all tenses. Some verbs will be same in all tenses, that is cut, put. I already told you. So this type of words if you are getting, you just underline them. Okay, then it will be easy for you to learn. So this type of a task should be there from your part, then only it will be very easy to learn. And anyway, dear students, let's wind up the class here. After this class we will have the next class just relating to this class. So if you understand this one very well, only you can just go to the next one. So I recommend you, I just suggest you to go through the slides once again to make it out deeply. Okay, thanks for everyone. Goodbye.